Welcome to the Practical NLP podcast with me, Andy Smith. This episode is an extract from Fran Wilson's Growth Mindset Live event last month, where he interviewed various experts around the subject of escaping from your day job and building your own business. Most of the people he interviewed were experts on making money online, affiliate marketing, and that kind of thing. If you know me, you'll be aware that I'm not really a marketing guy, so I thought I'd better offer something different. So what you get in this recording is a little bit about my escape from a job that I wasn't suited to 30 years ago, some tips on how to make better decisions than I made, how to make sure that what you're going for is actually what you want, and also an exercise borrowed from appreciative inquiry to help you identify what you really love doing. Fran was an ideal interviewer in that he mostly just let me talk. Plus, he was up for being a demo subject. You can find him at fran-wilson.com. Let's join the interview.
Hey, Andy.
Hi.
Can you see me? Hear me?
How you doing?
Yeah, good,
hear
thanks.
You loud and clear. Hope you can hear me as well.
Yep. Everyone, this is Andy Smith. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a practical, appreciative inquiry facilitator and emotional intelligence coach.
That's right. Well, appreciative inquiry is the method that I'm largely concentrating on now. My course is called Practical Appreciative Inquiry because there's a lot of theory in a lot of the appreciative inquiry stuff. And I aim to fill in like the missing bits of practice that you might not get. But that's a specialized thing. I also used to be a hypnotherapist. I used to be, still am an NLP trainer, although I haven't trained any courses for a while, but I've created some products using hypnosis and NLP to help people to create the life you want, which is a workshop that I also used to run way back in the day. I've learned a few things since then. So what I'm giving people today is actually a little audio book, Introduction to NLP, and how to put principles into action in your life, even without having to have any training in it or know any techniques or anything. The principles are really valuable. But also a self-hypnosis audio called Achieve Your Goals, which is designed to help you boost your motivation and keep going when things get rough and get clearer about what you want, all of that stuff which you need.
God, incredible. Yeah. I don't know if you want to just share more about your journey, really, just sort of how you got to where you are now. I don't know. Just
okay.
It sounds a very unique sort of specialized area, isn't it? I haven't really come across that before.
There's just shows there's a load of stuff out there. So I'll tell you where I'm now, and then I'll talk a little bit about where I came from and how I got there and some of the mistakes I made, so to try and save people from making those mistakes. That would be good. All right. So currently, we're living in a beautiful little medieval village in France, and I work about as much as I want to. And when I do work, it's doing stuff I love, which is the appreciative inquiry stuff and writing books and creating videos and knowledge products and so on. But I can pretty much in control of my own life at this point. Yeah. However, this wasn't always the case. So, you're gonna be shocked when you look at me, obviously. But 30 years ago, I was in a job that I really didn't like and really felt I wasn't any good at. I wasn't deriving any satisfaction from, which was I was working in IT back then in the UK. And I don't know if some of your viewers or some of the participants here will be in the same position now, because if they are, I hope I can share some things to help them, where you're doing the job for the money, and you've kind of drifted into it, but you don't particularly feel you're any good at it. You're not that interested in it. You'd love to do something else, but you don't know what. And in my case, I was always worried that I was going to get found out as well as being kind of an imposter in the job, which indeed did happen one day when the project I was working on went wrong and I was kind of in the frame for it going wrong. So I was desperate to get out of that job. This is right. Lesson number one: don't wait until you're desperate, and think about where you want to be before you are forced by events to make a move. So I wanted to get out of that job. All of my motivation at that point was away from. So I wanted to get out of this situation, which is fine, but away from motivation is not a direction. Okay, away is not a direction. Because you can move in any direction and you'll get a certain distance away from where you are. So I followed an ad in the classified bit of a respectable broadsheet newspaper. It said, become a stress auditor, earn £300 to £600 a week. This is back when that was decent money, working 10 to 20 hours a week. So I thought, okay, I'm stressed. I can relate to that. So I followed this up, and it turned out it wasn't that at all. It was actually a training course for hypnotherapists. And they kind of got some of their graduates into a little employee assistance program. They had one client, which was a small building society with about 5 employees. And on the strength of that, they were advertising this enormous thing without actually saying what it was. But I did it anyway because I was desperate. Course was expensive. Did it anyway because I was desperate. Course actually wasn't very good, but I completed it. I set up as a hypnotherapist. So I kind of retrained. And I found that despite the training not being very good, I actually enjoyed it. And being good at my job was like a sensation that I hadn't encountered before in like 20 years. So, or 12 years, actually it was. So I stuck with that and, started helping people and started making amazing differences in their life, in most cases anyway. And I was always looking for better ways to improve my skills because, as I said, the training I'd had, even without any previous experience, I could see it wasn't that great. So I met some neuro-linguistic programming NLP practitioners that I was personally impressed by, and I thought, wow, I've got to learn this. Read some books about it, did an NLP practitioner course, then a master practitioner course the next year, then a trainer's course the next year. And all the time I was using this NLP stuff in my hypnotherapy practice. I was lucky. I had, clients to try stuff out on, and it worked really well most of the time. So I started training other people to be NLP practitioners, whether they were therapists, coaches, consultants, just people wanting to develop their own lives. So started to move more into executive coaching, got some corporate training gigs, doing emotional intelligence, started training for executives, started flying out to Malaysia and Dubai and Saudi Arabia and Egypt, occasionally Singapore, to run corporate training, which was great. Flying to Malaysia to do 3 days training knocks you out for a week because of jet lag and time differences and so on. But it's nice to see, different bit of the world and 5-star hotels and stuff. Okay, so over time you can start refining down into what you're really, really interested in. So I love doing NLP, but there's a lot of NLP trainers out there. So I created some knowledge products for NLP trainers, but I'm focusing more on the appreciative inquiry stuff, still do some coaching, still creating products, audios, and so on for personal development and helping people to find their way. So and then we moved to France like 11 years ago and haven't regretted it for a day, even though, because I'm still working in English, my French is crap, but it's...
like mine.
Do we want to sort of share some tips and things? Is that what you want me to?
Yeah, sort of strategies, how you sort of just progress forward in life, really. That's all. That's what I'm trying to, that's sort of the message today, and helping people break the patterns of limiting beliefs and that procrastination. That's a common one. So things like that, just what you use,
absolutely.
strategies.
There is a theory with procrastination that actually the best thing to do is to use it creatively. And there's this one big thing that you're putting off doing, but while you're putting off doing that, there's a load of other useful little things that you can do instead, so you can actually get loads done while you're procrastinating. But then again, another thing you can do is just simply to ask yourself right now, and you might want to try this at home actually, what's the most important thing that you're avoiding right now? Just give people a minute to think about that. You might want to write it down in case you forget it later with all this other fascinating stuff that we're going to be talking about. Yeah, what are you resisting most right now would be another one. And yeah, don't tell us because it might be some sort of deep dark thing, but it will contain some useful information probably for each individual person. Yeah, so you've been getting sort of some techniques and some ways for people to create the life you want, like being an affiliate for things and so on, which is all fantastic. And it's really important, as well as ways of getting to where you want to be. It's really, really, really important to get an idea of actually where you want to be. Otherwise, you could set off and do amazing things, but going in slightly the wrong direction. And the very worst case scenario is you work your butt off, you get somewhere, and you think, oh, actually, is this all there is? This isn't quite where I wanted to be at all. So you don't want that. So it's useful at the start of the journey to really think about where you want to be. And in particular, if you're starting a new life, you're having a career swerve, you're ditching your old career, you're leaving your old things behind, think about, what do we actually want to keep from the old stuff that we regret losing? Because there will be some things in there that are working for you. And it's really helpful if you know what they are, because that will give you a truer compass to actually get to where you really want to be. So this is kind of informed by the appreciative inquiry stuff. Again, we can't have a dialogue with individuals apart from you, Fran. But again, people might want to ask themselves this at home. Can I ask you, how long have we got, by the way? What's our deadline for my segment?
We got 5-10 minutes, whatever. Like, I'm open to it going on a little bit, but yeah, if you want
10 minutes, okay.
If you want to put a question out there and people can add it in the chat, that's not a problem. Yeah, I'm happy for you to do that. What
I'd like everyone to think about is, think about a time when you felt you were in really the right place, one of the best experiences of your work life so far, even if overall your work life has not been something that you want to continue in that direction. Nevertheless, there will have been some little fleeting bright spots or transcendent moments. So think about one of the best experiences of your professional life so far, a time when you felt really in the right place, when you were on top of things, when you were really enjoying yourself, when you were making a difference, whatever was important to you. I just think about that. And if we had loads of time, I'd ask you to tell me about it, because the more you talk about it, the more kind of deeply into it you relive the experience and you get more useful information. As you think about that, this is truncating the process somewhat, but it's also worth asking, what is it about that experience that's important to you? What makes it a significant experience to you? What made it a significant experience to you? Because what we're starting to get at there is your values, what motivates you, and also the criteria you've got for deciding whether something is right or whether something is wrong for you. So what's important to you about that? There'll probably be, 3 or 4 things that you can put your finger on. So with that, yeah, actually, Fran, without it, did something spring to mind, a good experience that you've had or a great experience that you've had in your work life?
There's been quite a few, to be honest.
Sure. So yeah, if you pick one of the good, it doesn't have to be like the best ones, but You know, a good one, a really good one.
One of them actually, funny enough, is actually in sort of later years of my engineering career, in the transition of the online space, where I was in developing a hypercar. That was one of my last jobs.
Okay.
As a, you know, the gearbox software calibration, software calibration. So I was down at one of the tracks, so Brands Hatch in UK, for an exclusive day. So that was one, you know, doing some development work. It was
Okay.
literally an exclusive day for us. So that was a massive highlight for me.
So what was it about it that made it highlight?
Firstly, my biggest passion is motorsport. So when I was down at a racetrack, you know, that was really the first thing. I was developing a hypercar, and I was working on some sophisticated software. I could connect a laptop to into the, you know, the vehicle, the car, and I could update how the gearbox basically changed, you know, its performance, its characteristics, so things like that. I was like, this is just because it was high tech, very highly skilled high tech role.
Okay, so we're already getting that you leading edge stuff is important to you, highly skilled stuff is important to you. What else is important to you? What else was great about that experience?
The environment I was in was actually teamwork. So it wasn't just me on my own. It was a group of us. We had a professional driver. We had, you know, mechanics. We had other engineers. So it was literally a team effort, and that's something that's big to me. So team, like the environment, you know, working together as a unit.
Okay.
So yeah, that really stood out for me. You know, that one day event, just again, it almost made me think, you know, do I carry on with this career? And because of that environment, that space I was in.
Yeah, but of course you weren't always in that environment, and not every day was like that.
No.
Okay, but it's giving you some pointers as to, and you've obviously thought about this quite a lot because you've been, you know, thinking about your own personal development and learning loads and so on. It's giving you some, even without that, just thinking about that experience and what's important to you about it, what was great about it, what's significant about it, is giving you pointers as to what you still need to fulfill in your new life. It won't be everything, because there'll be other values, other things that are important to you as well. Just to go back to the towards away from thing. So away from is basically, away from motivation is stuff you want to avoid, right? Stuff you don't want to happen, stuff you're worried about happening, stuff you want to get away from. So there'll be aspects of your old job that probably you want to get away from. As I say, that's not a direction. The other downside of just having away from motivation, just wanting to get out of somewhere, is you might quite like to be somewhere else, but the closer you get to that arbitrary goal that you've set yourself, the further away you are from the thing that's motivating you. So the danger is you get far enough away from it, and then your motivation just sort of runs out, and you sit there until the next thing you want to avoid comes along. Third downside of just having away from motivation is it's stressful, because you're always thinking about what you want to get away from. Now, contrast that with towards motivation. So if you've thought about where you want to get to, what's important to you about it, and you think, wow, I'd really like to be over there. First of all, you've got a direction now. You know where you're going. And if you get knocked off course, because stuff will inevitably happen, you know, technical limitations will limit the number, whatever, or, you know, there'll be the price of gas will go up 5 times or whatever it is. Yeah, there's going to be unexpected things happening occasionally. And you get knocked off course a little bit. If you know where you're going, you can correct your course and go back there. If you get knocked off again, you can correct it again. And you just get closer and closer to your goal all the time. It doesn't run out towards motivation, because, you know, the closer you are to where you want to get to, actually, you've only got one more step. Is your motivation going to run out? Is it? Hell, you're going to get there. Third thing, it's not stressful to think about. So while you're motivated, you're thinking about where you want to get to, and it's good stuff that you're thinking of. Your internal representations, as we say in the NLP community, are of good things. So even if objectively right now the starting situation is horrible, you've got this dream of where you want to go to, and that's what you're thinking about. So you're feeling good. You're in a resourceful emotional state while you're thinking about that goal. which means you've got access to more of your inner resources, or all of your inner resources, which you'll need, to actually get there. So this is why you need a substantial chunk towards motivation, and think about where you want to go, rather than just, I want to get out of this. That can be a great, boot up the bottom to get you moving. But after that, you need some sort of towards motivation.
Incredible.
Is that, I hope that's a bit helpful anyway.
I know where I want to get to.
yeah, good. And the more you said feel good when you think about that, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. You might also want to do a bit more of a sort of values audit as well, because the things that you were thinking about that came out of your great experience at the racetrack, doing that technical stuff with that great team, doing leading edge stuff, and probably actually getting feedback moment to moment as well, that the changes you were making, you could see the differences. I dare say there's all sorts of like readouts and stuff that were telling you.
Yep.
As well as that, there'll be other things as well which are important, which weren't necessarily showing up in that experience. So it's worth doing like a full list of your values. In an ideal world, you'd have a coach or just even a friend to ask you these questions, because we take things more seriously when it's another human being asking us stuff, rather than like filling in a survey on paper or something. So you've got that list of things that are important. You could also ask yourself, what else is important? And get some more answers, and what else is important. You probably get to a point where you think, can't think of anything else. Now, when I have that with my clients or my students, I just smile and nod and say, yeah, and what else is important? Because what they've probably done is they've got the things out which are like front of mind, that they're consciously aware of. There will be other motivating values in there as well, which are kind of maybe a bit deeper seated, maybe not so much front of mind, maybe they're not consciously aware of them, but their unconscious mind will be aware of them, and it will be shaping their actions. So I basically just go on asking them, and what else is important, until there's a danger of them getting annoyed with me, in which case I'm losing rapport.
You've gone too deep.
I stop. Well, no, it's not gone too deep. It's just, they've reached the genuine end of their list, or they're getting bored with it, or whatever. So you got a whole list of values. The first ones you come out with are not necessarily the most important ones. They're just the ones that were like front of mind. So the next thing you can do is you can go down your list, if you've written them down, and just ask yourself, okay, if I could only have one of these, which one would it have to be? Actually, I'm going to ask you that now, Fran, actually. In your new career, those values that you mentioned, those things that you mentioned that are important to you, if you could only have one of those, what would it be? What would it have to be?
So one of my values.
Yeah, one of the things that, like in that experience at the racetrack, one of the things the aspects that made it great, that you were telling me about, that made it really stand out for you.
Probably like togetherness, sort of to the unity, community, or togetherness, really.
Right. So being
working as a team.
Yeah. So in other words, if you were just sort of doing coaching or training or whatever on your own, you never saw anyone, you'd be seriously unmotivated in no time, probably.
Yeah.
You could do it, but you wouldn't be very happy.
I need to be around people, basically. That's big thing about me.
Right, cool. So number one value there, togetherness. And then, all right, so togetherness, you've got that. Whatever happens, you're going home with that tonight. So if you could just have one more value, what would that have to be?
Again, a big thing for me is personal freedom.
Right, personal freedom. So togetherness, number one, personal freedom, number two. And you could go down your list like that. And what you end up with is a hierarchy. And the ones at the top will be like essential. The ones nearer the bottom will be like nice to have, but you could sort of manage without them. This will give you a checklist to evaluate any kind of offer that comes along, or, if somebody offered you a day job that was too good to turn down, you could evaluate it against that. And this is going to be true, even if people are not thinking about setting up on their own, but if they're just thinking about, I just want to switch careers or get a different job, this will give you a checklist to evaluate any kind of job offer against, or any, joint venture offer or whatever it is. And if it doesn't hit the top 6 or 7 of those criteria, then probably forget it, because you won't be entirely fulfilled.
So I'll be out of integrity if it doesn't meet those values.
It wouldn't necessarily be out of integrity. You might not be doing anything that you think is wrong, but it might not be as satisfying for you. It might not be as motivating. It might not want you to sort of jump out of bed every morning as much as something that ticked all of those boxes. You wouldn't feel as fulfilled. Obviously, if there's something that compromised your moral standards, then you're not going to touch that. But yeah.
So yeah, discovering who you are in life, basically. That's
where what's important to you, where you want to get to. Self-awareness is super important, because we're not that encouraged to be self-aware, to know what we really want, because maybe different now, I don't know, but when I went to school, it was all about following rules and, get these qualifications and then you'll get a good job and then go to university, etc., etc., etc. And I ended up in a job that I didn't like at all. The money was okay, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled a lot of the time. I was fulfilled a lot by, I had good mates there and good banter and stuff. But at the same time, the work was pretty meaningless as I experienced it. And I could have gone a lot further, achieved a lot more, felt a lot happier sooner in life if I'd been more aware of what I wanted, what suits me, what's important to me, really.
Yeah.
Because that's the motivating force.
I was going to say, one thing I experienced was like awareness of like politics in global companies.
Mm-hmm.
The political noise, and it was like, that's something I just didn't agree with and couldn't chat face, let's say.
Yeah. And of course, some people revel in that. Some people thrive in it.
And hierarchy, you've got to go through so many hoops and for approval, like.
So anyway, anyone in a position of sort of corporate power or running their own business here, it's a really good idea to sort of put the decision-making power as far as low down the hierarchy as it's reasonable to go, so that people can make decisions based on what they know. Because people lower down the hierarchy know stuff that the people at the top don't, inevitably, because of the jobs that they do. So decision-making should be at the right level, and people be a lot happier with it.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Yeah.
That was a deep conversation. That was something I probably need more of.
Personally. Yeah. You know where I am, Fran. So yeah. So I do occasionally have a bit of space for coaching clients as well. People can get to it from that link.
Brilliant. But yeah, I appreciate your time. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.
It's a real pleasure, Fran, and I'm very happy to have had this chat, to meet some new people, meet some old friends as well, which is great. And shall I get off now?
Yeah.
So there we are. I'll link to some articles about values elicitation, motivation, and appreciative interviews in the show notes. If you want to find out more about appreciative inquiry, visit my other website, coachingleaders.co.uk, for loads of articles and videos, plus the practical appreciative inquiry course that starts soon. This episode is brought to you by me, more specifically my online store at webstore.nlppod.com, where you can find podcast back episodes, motivational self-hypnosis audios, and also resources for NLP trainers, like the Trainer's Pack of NLP exercises, my customizable, rebrandable NLP Practitioner course manual, and the new NLP Practitioner slide deck. All of these trainer resources are designed to save you huge amounts of time and effort designing your NLP courses. Get them at webstore.nlppod.com. See you next time.